Hello everyone and welcome back to Kentucky Garden Gal. I am Nancy and this is the May video of what should we be doing in the garden, what do we need to remember to do, what are some tips that we need to think about so that we just have the gardens that we want to have in June and July. So the first thing that I wanted to let you all know is I have a dear friend that I follow on Facebook. It's Catherine Strange from the Hennington House in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And she made a post this week at which I thought, oh, I just love this. But now what's trending, believe it or not, is tarnished silver, wrinkled clothes, and no dig gardens, i.e. weeds. It doesn't have to be immaculate. We have finally figured out that the messier it is, the better that the pollinators love it. So for the first time in my adult life, I'm gonna be stylish, and I think that's something to be happy about. It's also Derby month in Kentucky. The first Saturday in May is the Kentucky Derby, and if you live anywhere near Kentucky, you are going to be excited, and it's going to be all about the horses, the hats, the food. So that's something else that we look forward to in May. So another thing that we need to keep in mind is, depending on when you're watching this video, I'm filming this on the last day of April. Tomorrow is May 1st, Monday. So we need to wait about another week to put out our tender annuals. I know the garden centers are full and we're just ready to get out there and get those colors in the ground and in the containers. But this weather is crazy, and today is a perfect example. I had actually planned to be outside in my gardening doing this video, so you didn't have to look at me through the whole video, but you could actually see what I've been doing. I think this house might blow away. It is just absolutely crazy. So keep that in mind before you get a little bit excited. I personally plan on putting some of my plants out next weekend. The weekend after would be even safer, which is around Mother's Day. And for us, Zone 7, after Mother's Day is generally pretty safe. But if you've put your plants out, if you've got ants in your pants and you've put your plants out, make sure that you're watching the temperatures, and if it gets anywhere near freezing, which is 32 degrees, make sure and protect your plants. Either, drag them back under a cover, carport, porch, something like that. Put a sheet, put a frost cloth over them, something. But after Mother's Day in Kentucky, we are full speed ahead for gardening in 2023. Also, now is a great time if you have like lavender, rosemary, some of your hydrangeas, anything that is a woody plant. Go ahead. For me, it was also my Russian sage. Yesterday, I cut back my Russian sage, and I wanted to show you all that. Your butterfly bushes, you will see them coming back from the bottom. So now is a good time to trim those back. You don't want to trim all the way back. Like, you want to be on the safe side when you are trimming a shrub, do about a third. And that way, because you can't really put it back on, but you can always cut more off. So just to be on the safe side, I know it makes a little bit more work, but as a general rule, do about a third of the height of your shrub. It's also a great time to fertilize. We're pushing peonies. The irises are looking absolutely gorgeous. So get out there and get you some good fertilizer. I put Epsom salt around the drip line of my magnolia tree. And I do this either, I know it's going to rain, I'll run out and just fertilize everything. And what the plant or shrub or tree is depends on what kind of fertilizer I use. I use everything from the banana peel tea to 10-10-10 to everything in between. Rabbit manure, chicken manure if it's not hot, if it's had some time to set. So just depending on what it is and what you have available, but we do want to make sure that we constantly are amending our soil. The best that you can give your plants, it doesn't matter if you buy the most expensive plant at the nursery. If you bring it home and put it in yucky soil, you're not going to have good success. But you can go to the clearance rack and grab you some plants, and if you bring it home and put it in some wonderfully amended soil that's just rich, your plant's going to thrive. Make sure you water it properly. I have planted pawpaw trees here at the house and dogwood trees, so I am making sure the first year of their life, it's so important to keep them watered. So what I do, it's not real pretty, but I have a gallon jug that I have by each plant, and I go out in the morning and in the late afternoon, and I fill that gallon jug up. Now, just put a pinhole in the bottom and take your top off, and it will just slowly sit there. And so far, everything I've planted is looking good. Everything is budding out. It has new leaves on it. So I'm just thrilled to death about that. So something else that we can be doing, I know a lot of us, we winter sowed. Remember that in the milk jugs, how we winter sowed? Well, now's the time that we can get those out and get those in the ground. We can also directly sow perennials. And let's talk about what an annual is. An annual is a plant, whether fruit or vegetable or flower, that you have to replant every year. It has one season and then it dies off. Now, the general rule of that is if you have a plant that is pushing big, huge blooms that just gets gorgeous, that plant is going to need a lot of feed. It needs to be fed in order to bloom. So keep that in mind. You want to have some type of plan to fertilize your plants. So next we have a perennial. And a perennial is a plant, tree or shrub, that you plant and it comes back year after year after year. The general rule is by the third year, that perennial will be at its peak, at its best. So remember, it takes it just a little while to get those roots in there and find a nice snuggly home and get situated. But once it does, you will be rewarded year after year after year, and you only have to plant once. So that's really a great way if you have a large garden. And now is the time for you to divide your perennials. I've been out moving my irises around the garden. I'm getting ready to do my sedums. Just all kinds of things. Anything that needs to be thinned out. My daylilies are pretty thick. So I am trying to build up other areas in my garden. I had a place where my azaleas they were too old, they died. So I'm getting ready to sort of resurrect that area and put some perennials in. So now is a great time to do that. Just remember, you need to keep everything watered in and fertilized. Now is also a good time if you want to go get your mulch. I'm actually seeing that some places are running specials on mulch. So if you want to mulch around your plants, now's a wonderful time to do it. I actually do it throughout the year. I use compost and mulch throughout the year in my garden, but I am seeing it on sale now. And the advantage to using mulch is that, number one, it reduces watering. It keeps the soil moist for the plants so that in the summertime it gives them just a little bit of help from the heat. And also it helps keep weeds from growing. So if you have anywhere you have soil, you are going to have a weed that the wind and the birds will sow for you if you don't do something with that area. It's just inevitable. And I'm telling you, if you can't grow anything, I'll guarantee you can go grow weeds. At least I know in my garden, that's how it works. I can go out in the morning and weed and come back in the afternoon and I'm like, I know that wasn't there. They just pop up. They grow like crazy. So it's something that we all have, but don't let it deter you. Don't let it intimidate you. Just know, and really, weeds do have, lots of the weeds that we have in our area do have medicinal purposes. I've seen people making everything with dandelions, and plus it feeds the bees. So depending on how you look at it, I do try to keep the weeds directly out of my flower beds. That's really the only thing that I try to do. Nothing else bothers me. I'm happy to feed the birds, and I do think that weeds can be useful and beneficial. Now, some of them can just be pests, so you need to be careful with some of those that really have no purpose for anything as far as herbs or medicinal or feeding any of the insects or pollinators. You do want to eradicate anything that's just invasive and mean out of your garden. And I mean, you go out there and you go at it. You get those roots out and don't try to compost it, bag it up, put it in the trash, and get it out of your yard. Let's see, what else am I doing in my yard for May? I'm planting roses. I actually want to add climbing roses to my garden, so I'm planting some roses that I picked up earlier. I've been waiting a little bit to put them out. I'm gonna actually put these in the back gardens because the front gardens I am holding out for David Austin roses. I just want those so badly in my garden, and I've budgeted for them this year, but unfortunately, when the David Austin catalog came out earlier and I went on their website, they were already gone. So I'm going to try to get my order in. If I can't get them this year, then maybe next year, but there's also a chance that I could get them this fall. So I am continuing to sow seeds. You can directly sow perennials. That's where I started with this. We'll go back around to that. So the perennials that you can sow directly in the ground now would be things like your daisies, your black-eyed Susans, your annuals would be things like your zinnias. But it's okay to go ahead now, today, this week, and sow your hardy perennials. I would still give the tender annuals another week just to be on the safe side. Let's see, what else am I doing? I'm also doing a lot of maintenance. If you have things like maybe you like to use different decorating items in your garden, some of those just need a touch of paint. I do have a bird bath that I converted into a planter, and the edge of it is kind of crumbling, so I know how to fix that. I'm going to be working on that. But every day I just sort of go out and try to do something, whether I am sowing seeds directly in the ground with my hardy perennials, or I'm putting seeds that I'm usually having to soak because the seeds are bigger. And the general rule of thumb here is you can kind of look at a seed and know, what should I do with this seed? The information is right there on the back of the package, but the bigger and the harder the seed, the chances are you're going to need to soak that seed, and in some cases, like with the moonflower, you're going to actually need to score that seed. And by that, I mean take a nail file and sort of file the end of it, or even take a nail clipper and clip a piece of your seed, because those things just really have a hard time coming out of that seed. So look at your seed, and you can kind of figure out, gosh, is this a big old tough seed that I need to do something extra with? Do I need to soak it for at least 8 hours, not more than 24 usually. But continue to sow your seeds. Now is a great time to start sowing your seeds for your pumpkins, things that you want to grow in your fall garden. You can go ahead and start sowing those by seeds if that's what you want to do. Like I mentioned earlier, if you did the winter sowing, go ahead and get those out. Those should be hardened off. That's one of the benefits of sowing in the milk jugs is your plants are already acclimated to your environment, to our weather. So you don't have to open the jug and let them set out. They're already out. Now, if you have sown early in the year, like January, February, you do have to harden your seeds off that have become plants that you may have in your house or in your greenhouse. And the way you do that is you take them outside, leave them maybe for an hour at a time, bring them back in. The next day, maybe use 2 hours, and you keep bringing them out until they're acclimated to the outside. Another thing that you can do is put a fan in your greenhouse or where your seedlings are, because when you have a fan blowing, it actually makes them stronger because, they've had to kind of bend with the wind, so it'll make your plant a little bit stronger. So these are some of the things that we are doing in our gardens in Kentucky in Zone 7 in the merry, merry month of May. And the old saying, all that April showers bring May flowers, and we are seeing that here. The irises are just gorgeous this year. Like I said earlier, the peonies are getting ready to bloom, and we'll soon be bringing in vases of peonies. And by the way, don't worry about the ants. People worry about the ants on peonies. That's actually natural, and all you need to do if you are going to bring your peonies inside, you clip them, and remember, anytime that you're going to plant flowers, early in the morning is best. You clip your peony, and all you have to do is shake it gently, and you'll shake those ants off. But, you don't have to spray your peonies or anything like that. That's just part of the process. That's part of Mother Nature, the way she intended it to be. And it's perfectly fine. So I hope everyone is having a great week. I hope that you have fun things planned to do in your garden, whether it is just containers that you want to plant up, if you're doing raised beds, if you're full on like me and you are just crazy about gardening and you're out there every day just enjoying Mother Nature, just get out there and dig and make something grow and make something bloom and enjoy it. Thanks for watching, everyone, and have a blessed week.